Coming up tonight, the seas start to get a little bit calmer. We take a look at the Royal Promenade, and I sit down with the manager of hotel operations. It's all coming up, so let's set sail. Welcome to day 7 of the CruiseView from on board the Harmony of the Seas. Today was Saturday, October 29th, 2016, and day 7 is the midpoint of this sailing. We are halfway through the episodes and the days of this cruise. There are no major top stories to discuss today, so we're going to go straight to our location. Once again, we're at sea, so we've got some GPS coordinates with 28 degrees and 54 minutes north by 30 degrees and 24 minutes west. We are nearing the midpoint of the ocean, but we are not quite there. Of course, on this sailing, our ports were stacked at the beginning, so the middle of the ocean isn't exactly the middle of the cruise. And our weather today, we have been following that southern route, so things are slightly warmer. We had a high of 73 degrees today, which is also the temperature of the seas around us. And a sunrise at 8:20 this morning and a sunset at 7:14 tonight. Unfortunately, the weather, as it has been the past several days, called for scattered thunderstorms. Luckily, the day turned out a little bit better than the forecast. Really, I did not see any scattered thunderstorms today. I didn't even really see showers. There were a couple light sprinkles, but nothing major. For the most part, it was just very cloudy all morning long, and then in the mid-afternoon it started to get warm and sunny out, and the later afternoon was all blue skies and sunshine. A beautiful afternoon if you went outside. There was a little bit of wind with 20-knot winds outside that created a relative wind of about 25 knots across the top deck. We also had, according to the captain, 6-foot seas, but looking out at the ocean, it was pretty calm looking today, especially compared to the past several days. And around the ship, you barely feel any motion at all, as it was at the beginning of the cruise, compared to the past couple days where everything was really kind of rocking and rolling and moving around a bit more than we're used to on a ship this size. So with this rather continuous forecast of scattered thunderstorms, the content of the compass is a little more important, so we're going to move on to that. So then this morning I started once again with another 9:30 David Kirkpatrick lecture. This time it was titled Walt Disney and the Power of Animation. And this one, similar to the others, covered some of David Kirkpatrick's past, things that he's dealt with and been around. This time, of course, Walt Disney was not during his time, but he did have some connection to him as a child when he wrote letters to him, and some other little stories about Walt Disney that really kind of humanized him and brought some more insight into the world of the Walt Disney Animation Studios, including the time at which David Kirkpatrick was involved in the animation studio and really helped shape it a bit into what it is today with movies like The Little Mermaid.
Now, I'm going to sort of wrap this up, but this is interesting in and of itself. Now, that meeting that we had was probably 25 years or 30 years ago in terms of Hans Christian Andersen and some of these first things that we did at Disney. And we talked the other day in the first lecture about how long some things take. Look at this.
And then following that, I took another ride down the abyss. Last time I mentioned that really wasn't scary. A little bit of nauseousness afterwards. Today, completely fine. It felt quite different than the first time. The first time the ship was rocking and there was a bit of a side-to-side and up-and-down motion going on while riding down the slide, and I think that kind of led to the nausea. Today the ship's not moving at all, and it felt very different, which is likely because the slide was not moving around me this time. So it was just a very quick, fun ride down the slide, and certainly enjoyable, worth doing if you're on the Harmony. It's one of the main features here, so you definitely do not want to miss it. And then this afternoon at 2 o'clock, we once again had another Nautical Notes with Captain Gus. This time it was a lecture on famous navigators, in which he went through all sorts of historic navigators like Christopher Columbus and different people who sailed the oceans discovering new lands, some insight into the old technology that used to be used to help navigate. And then of course he ended it with another little Q&A on that topic, and this time he helped control the room and enforce a little more that it needed to remain on topic with what today's subject was on those historic navigators and locating where a ship is and where you are in relation to the rest of the world. Then tonight, once again, since it is traditional, it was at 6 o'clock. Our dinner was another casual night, and tonight's menu, I got a couple items off of. The first, for my starter, I got the chilled strawberry bisque soup. This is something that's been on a couple other menus in the past, and it is one of the chilled soups, something that has, for the most part, gone missing from Royal Caribbean's latest menus. It was completely absent on the Quantum of the Seas, but it was on tonight's menu, so those chilled soups are making a little bit of a comeback. We'll see if they continue to expand that in the future, but it was delicious as it has always been. And then for my entree, I got the Thai chicken breast. And for my dessert, I got two desserts. The one that was exclusive for today was the sugar-free red berry tart, which was delicious. And unlike the Quantum, where things really went to little personalized tartlets, this was a slice of, almost just a slice of a fruit pie. And along with that, I got another dessert, this one off of the classic standard menu, which was the apple pie. Then following dinner, as I often do, I like to go to all the Royal Caribbean shows. I've already done them, had no scheduled show for tonight. It was completely open, but there were two showings of 1887, so I went standby on both of those at 8 o'clock and 10:15. This time at 8 o'clock, I stood on the left side at the top. For the 10:15, it was much emptier, and I was able to get a seat on the left side of the audience, and that was the only time I saw it from the side rather than directly on at the end. And it was a very different experience watching it from the side. 1887 has been incredible every time, but it is certainly better to watch at the end. When you're on the end of the studio looking straight down that ice at the stage area, you can really take in the full picture at once. When you're on the side, like it was that last show, you had to look side to side a lot because the rink, of course, is wider when looking from the side than it is long. So the action was moving back and forth, and you tended to miss a lot more than when you were straight at the end of the ice and could see the entire ice perfectly clear in your vision and didn't really have to look around as much. Overall, that's now 4 times I've seen this show, and I'm still not tired of it, and it still every time seems to just fly right by. It is an absolutely incredible show. We're seeing the one showing that I saw today, they had an alpha call that came over the PA system, completely knocked out the audio for the studio, and it was absolutely incredible to see the cast. First, I thought it was going to go into some kind of momentary halting procedure or something to just get them into a place to stop and then restart the show, but they continued on with all their skating, with all their moves directly in line with where they were supposed to be, went on as if nothing had happened, even though the entire audio was cut and the entire studio was silent. And as soon as the alpha call was over, the volume came right back, and they were still completely in sync and continued on with the show as if nothing had ever happened. They just went on like there was nothing going on. So that was incredible to see, and you don't see that very often. When you do see something interrupt a show, it usually does stop the show. But they were able to just keep on going, which was really impressive to watch. And probably one of the most impressive things I've seen in that show is watching it not work right like that, where the audio had to be cut for that alpha call, and just how they were able to seamlessly handle it and keep on going with the show like it never happened. And now, having seen it 4 times and had a couple days to think about it, I've been trying to understand what is so appealing about 1887, since it isn't so as over the top as some of these other shows. And think a lot of it has to do with the same thing as Mamma Mia on Quantum of the Seas. The show is just very well done. It's spot on. It's got a lot of plot and development and storylines to it that typically the ice shows of the past haven't had as much of. They've been more focused on the skating, while this actually does have a bit more of a plot and story to it. But it is still, even with all the projection systems, a very simplistic performance, very focused on the individual performers and their skating and their moves. It's not over the top with the projections. They're very subtle, and voiceovers are subtle. Everything's very subtle about it, just like Mamma Mia was with the sets. And that lets the cast shine and really be the center and the spotlight of this entire show. And I think that's probably what makes it so appealing, that it really is focused on the talent, and the talent in it is just absolutely incredible. But because I went to that at both 8 and 10:15, that meant that at 10 o'clock, I unfortunately did miss the white party that was held right behind me in the Royal Promenade. The white party, of course, being held sometimes in the solarium or up on the pool deck, depending on the ship. And it is basically just a big party with the DJ playing music or a live band playing music, as was the case tonight, and everybody dresses in white. So that about does it for today's Compass. Tonight at 3 a.m. we once again change the clocks back to 2 a.m., which is the third time I believe we've done that now in a row. And we've got about 3 more of those to do, so it'll likely be the next 3 nights that we'll be changing the clock. So every night we've been getting this bonus hour of sleep, or bonus time to spend in all the different venues like Bolero's behind me, or straight down an entertainment place at the attic where there is music and dancing and all the club action going on around the ship tonight. So continuing along with that then, our venue tour tonight is the Royal Promenade and Shops directly behind me. The center of a ship has long been its atrium. This focal point of the vessel has helped guests flow vertically throughout the ship and gave a gathering location within. As ships got larger though, the needs changed, and so did Royal Caribbean as they created the Royal Promenade. Introduced on the Voyager class, this new horizontal venue took the cruise industry to new heights. Featuring a large, thin atrium at either end, the ship then has the Royal Promenade in the middle to create an H shape with a large horizontal space connecting the two. Freedom class took this design to new lengths, while the Oasis class took it to even greater widths. This massive space allows for public events to be held, including parades, parties, and welcome receptions. Unlike the Oasis and Allure, which featured a large unfolding bridge from atop the Globe and Atlas pub, or the Freedom class, which had a floating bridge, the Harmony lacks any kind of focal structure to extend over the promenade. It instead relies on temporary stages, the circular stage near the Cafe Promenade, as well as a walkway above the Boot and Bonnet pub. The highlight of the Royal Promenade has always been its ability to change with the moods and times, thanks to its vast animated ceiling. The Harmony of the Seas is no exception when it comes to this, featuring a huge LED-based ceiling that can change to any color needed. Like its sisters, she also once again has skylights that allow natural light to shine in as well. While the space is a vast open area for gathering, it also offers many amenities. At either end of the promenade are large Royal IQ stations where guests can make and change dining and entertainment reservations, book excursions, and view the compass, among other features. The forward end, which connects to the Royal Theatre and Entertainment Place, appropriately features some entertainment options. The starboard side features boleros, a Latin-inspired bar and lounge that will often play home to a Latin band to add some festivities to each evening. The port side is the location of the on-air club. While its external appearance may be a bit more toned down than those found on its sisters, inside it is still home of the karaoke bar each evening, while also serving as another space for activities to be held during the day. The center features a variety of stores, along with several small kiosk shops in the middle that feature a variety of specials and sales that change from day to day. Towards the forward end is the classic British pub found on each promenade. On the Harmony of the Seas, it's the Boot and Bonnet pub, featuring a small menu and a variety of beers and drinks to order. Most evenings, the guitarist helps enhance the atmosphere and fill the area with music. This area also features two classic Royal Caribbean eateries. Sereno's Pizzeria features a variety of pre-made pizzas until 3 a.m. and made-to-order pizzas during the afternoon. It is also the location of the Promenade's Coca-Cola Freestyle machine. Directly across the way, the Cafe Promenade is open 24 hours a day for both complimentary and specialty coffees and teas, along with a variety of snacks. During the morning, it often will feature danishes and other small pastries, while the evening and throughout the night sees a rotation of small sandwiches and desserts. The aft end of the promenade is the center of guest services, with the actual guest service desk, next cruise area for all future vacation planning needs, Boom internet support, and loyalty desks. Upstairs, this end also includes a large space on the starboard side known as Focus. Featuring the Quantum class upgrades, the space has several rows of touchscreens that allow guests to pull up all their photos from the cruise to review and purchase as needed. The aft end is also the location of the most famous trio of bars at sea. The modern classic introduced on the Quantum class has made its way to the Oasis class with the Harmony of the Seas. The Bionic bar replaces the Champagne bar at the starboard aft corner of the promenade. This high-tech bar features a large seating area that is highlighted by flashy lights, techno music, and most importantly, a pair of bartending robots that know how to both mix and stir your drinks just right. The port side on the 6th deck features the largest of the onboard bars with the Royal Caribbean signature schooner bar. Featuring a large bar, ample seating, and most nights a piano player, it's a great venue to take a break and watch over the promenade below. The centerpiece of the aft of the promenade is the Rising Tide bar. The bar first introduced with the Oasis class and considered to be the signature bar of the class. This full-service bar has a capacity of roughly 30 guests that are slowly transported between the Royal Promenade on Deck 5 and Central Park on Deck 8, offering 360-degree views the entire way. In addition to being a bar, its location in the heart of the action often means it becomes the center of attention during events as well. While the Rising Tide bar dominates the aft end, the head, Harmony of the Sea's most featured art installation, dominates the forward end. This giant metallic art installation features 5 tons of steel and several embedded motors that allow the multiple plates to move independently with 360 degrees of motion. Whether people are on their morning coffee runs, afternoon shopping sprees, evening parties, or even late night snacks, the Royal Promenade is always full of energy and activity. But on occasion, even it has to take a break, and on those rare occasions in the late hours of the night, you just might catch it taking a nap of its own. So the Royal Promenade has of course been the center of the attention for the Voyager class, the Freedom class, and on the Oasis class it had to start sharing that attention with both Central Park directly above and the boardwalk at the end, but it is still very much the heart of this entire ship and the center of all the action no matter what time of day it is. It is the only space on this ship that is continuously in use no matter when you go to check it out. And one of the people that is responsible for everything related to the guests and almost all the departments seem to report up through, which means he has a lot of responsibility. And what goes on behind me in the promenade is the hotel manager, and I got to sit down and talk to him. So today I am joined by Giuseppe, who is the manager of hotel operations on board the Harmony. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Derek.
Could you provide a little bit of background on yourself?
Yes, I'm Italian. I was born and raised in Italy. I've been working for the company for Royal Caribbean International for just about 16 years. Mm-hmm. My background in the field is studied on obviously hotel management and hospitality business. I did the national service in Italy, used to be mandatory those days, mm-hmm. and then I moved to England with the intention of improving my English skills and travel a little bit the world. After spending about 2.5 years in England and working in restaurant business, I was given the opportunity to work for Royal Caribbean International, and I started with my first ship, which was the Radiance of the Seas, in January 2001 as a part of the startup team on Radiance in the food and beverage division.
So then with these ships, they keep on getting bigger and bigger. Most of the stuff the guest side of the house sees falls under you. So how does your division kind of deal with these increasing sizes?
Well, you're right. I started with Radiance and I moved to lots of other smaller ships that we have, which are still obviously big ships, Vision class and the Radiance class and so on. But with the amount, as time goes on, we build bigger. Royal Caribbean we build bigger, and the operation becomes more complex. We always want to offer more to our guests. We want to have more activities, more excitement on board. So there is lots of research and planning on how we can make this big amount of guests coming on board enjoying everything we have to offer without feeling that they are in crowded spaces. Yeah. So we work on basically managing guest flow, researching guest flow, and good planning, of course, to make sure that there is never too much happening in the same place, and actually guests have something to do in every area on the ship. So we have lots of coordinations between our food and beverage divisions with the cruise entertainment divisions, mm-hmm. and so on. Yeah. So, but it's a fantastic challenge. Mm-hmm.
And then the Harmony of the Seas is obviously the newest ship. So what kind of improvements or changes have there been to your area?
Well, Harmony of the Seas is the biggest and most beautiful and technological ship in the world. And I'm sure you've been on Oasis and Allure. Yeah. Those ships are very similar, the sister ships. On board Harmony, we started with VOOM, which is the fastest internet at sea, which is fantastic. You see guests FaceTime or using Skype and talk to their family members back home as they walk the ship and explore the ship, which is incredible. And we've added a few other things like the Ultimate Abyss, which is the highest slide at sea. It's fantastic. I'm not sure if you had the opportunity to go to do it, but I see everyone coming down the slides on deck number 6, like excitement in their face. We also have the water slide, Perfect Storm, and those are the things that we think. And what can we do better? How can we make our ships, create more excitement in our ships? So we have our bionic bar, the idea that we took from our quantum class ships. So those are a few things that we've done differently from the sister ships. And of course, the more we build, the more ideas will come. We always want to surprise our guests and want to make sure that we offer exclusivity and things that are new for everyone.
And then the Oasis class is probably the most standardized class when it comes to itineraries, almost always doing a routine 7-night sailing. We're obviously breaking from that with a 13-night transatlantic. So how has that difference in itinerary affected your area?
Well, there is a lot of planning again involved. We have some references, of course, from Allure last year. We did the short, we went to Europe as well, and we did the same itinerary. However, of course, Harmony has different concepts, so we have additional restaurants, we have different menus. So we are mostly, the biggest area that is affected and requires a lot of planning is the provisioning. We want to make sure that we have everything that we need on board to provide our guests, the quality of services that they expect, and food, of course. And that's why we have an amazing inventory manager on board that looks after that part. Of course, he looks at history, consumption from previous years, and so on. So he makes adjustment accordingly and make all the orders as needed. But from a cruise programming point of view, we also look at what was done in previous ships, how the guests responded to what we did, what they tell us. We always listen to our guests. We want to know what we do well and what we do that they would like us to do different, so we can improve, day after day. And that's how we start. We make plans accordingly. We trying to ensure the best vacation, ever during this 9 days at sea. Keeping in mind that the ship is all the guests have to enjoy during this time. So as you have noticed, we have additional activities on board. We have a non-stop programming from 8 o'clock in the morning until late night with our beautiful entertainment place. We have our 7 neighborhoods always up and running, with lots of excitement going on in all of that.
And then, as you mentioned, there are 9 straight days at sea. So that is obviously very demanding on a lot of the crew who are used to getting a little bit of a break on those port days. So how are you helping to keep the morale and just keep everything flowing?
This is a fantastic question, and I'm glad you asked. We do believe that happy crew equal happy guests. So we do have a lot of sea days, and this is true. But still, during these sea days, our crew members, of course, get the opportunity to get time off. We have fantastic recreational areas for crew members. We have our own spaces, so crew members can enjoy, workout time. They can enjoy our crew area spaces during the evening, to socialize and have a drink with the fellow crew members. Lots of crew members and officers also have the opportunity to go around the ship and enjoying some of the spaces around the ship. And we increase our programming for crew members, of course. And during these sailings, normally we also offer some entertainment for our crew members during the night time, so that crew members can also experience what we offer to our guests. And that's a win-win situation. And this is why all our crew members are happy and smiling around the ship all the time.
And then with a port day, a lot of the guests get off. That leaves spaces empty throughout the ship for crews to do any kind of work that needs to get done, or even just to be able to get into all the guest cabins to clean the rooms. So with all those sea days, how does that change their scheduling and the way that they get into these spaces?
Well, when it comes to guest staterooms, we do have some sort of guidelines in place that has been there for a long time. Basically, guests have a little card that they can put on their door. So one side says, please make up my room. One side says, do not disturb. So the stateroom attendant, they know when when to go inside the rooms to get the rooms ready for them. But on overall, ship experience, you're right, it's a little bit different. The ship is operational 24 hours. So we don't get those downtimes where the guests are off and we have more time to clean public areas. But we do have great procedures in place, and our teams on board are fully prepared and fully trained to accomplish their duties, even though we have a lot of guests around throughout the day. And it worked out very well. I guess enjoy to have crew members around, and we always it's a great opportunities for us to actually socialize with the guests and talk to them, share experiences. Guests love to hear from crew members. They love to know crew members. In fact, the greatest feedback from the guests, it's based on experience that they've had with other crew members. We often hear stories of guests coming back to the same ships to visit crew members they have encountered during previous sailings. So this makes us proud, and this makes us really happy. We believe that crew members are the heart of our ships. We have an amazing hardware. We have a fun, we build bigger, we build, great, but the secret of Royal Caribbean International success, we believe, is our crew members.
And then with all of these time changes that we've been having every night, we've been getting some bonus hours. Has that made things harder or easier on your side?
Well, I have to say that makes things much easier on our side, because every night our crew members get 1 extra hours of rest. So we turn the hour forward during the night, so this doesn't have an effect to our activities. So we try to scatter throughout the cruise, so that doesn't create too much impact to our guests and our crew, day-to-day operation, ability to sleep well as well. So it works out very well. The most difficult time is when we go back, that we have to go 1 hour back, and lose 1 hour sleep instead of gain 1 hour sleep.
And then with the increased number of Crown and Anchor members on board the sailing, a record number, how has that changed the way that your department worked? Has it increased any of the demands on areas?
Well, it's amazing. We have the best program ever, the Crown Anchor Society on board, and we are proud of that. Obviously, ships like Harmony of the Seas, new ships, they always attract a large amount of Crown Anchor guests coming to visit us. This current cruise, we have over 4,000 Crown Anchor members on board. So it's just about planning. Our Crown Anchor members have great benefits on board our ships. So we want to make sure that they feel that even though there is a large number of Crown Anchor on board, they get the full package and they get all the benefit they are entitled to. So it's just a matter of planning accordingly and ensure correct execution.
And then for any sailing, there's always a level of unknown. When you have a transatlantic, you've got a large ocean, which could make that even more likely to be concerned about. So you could have anything from an outbreak of something or a storm where someone has to get locked in their cabin, or the exact opposite in beautiful weather and more people go out on deck than usual. So how do you kind of equate for anything that could happen like that?
Well, we've been operating for many years. So as you can imagine, we've been going through different situations. So we have contingency plans, and we are fully prepared for different scenarios that may come up. Our crew members, staff officers are all fully trained in these contingency plans, and we have good plans for executions when this happens. For example, in case of we expect great weathers like these days. So we are almost reaching Florida. We are in the Caribbean waters. Yeah. So we have everything. We have lots of activities happening in the pool. But we know that if we encounter some rain and some storms, we already have a plan B when it comes to activities, and have an increase of activities in our indoor spaces so that our guests can still enjoy, the offerings on board the Harmony of the Seas.
And then you're coming from Europe and heading to North America. There's obviously different demographics for those two regions and different preferences. What kind of things do you have to change when you change locations like that?
Well, it's more about the crew members, our crew on board, knowing and being prepared for the switch of demographic. In Europe, we normally welcome guests from 80 different nationalities. We have many languages on board. We do things in different languages, so we have all compasses in different languages and so on. Once we get to the States, we switch more into a larger US guest count. So it's actually, there is no major differences, but again, it's all about what we've learned in the past. I guess there is more planning when we go from US to a different itineraries than when we go back to US, because we've been in US, and Caribbean for so many years. We already know exactly what our, larger demographic of guests like, and we are prepared for the offering of the great product that they experience. Does he answer the questions? Yes.
Yeah. And then technology obviously is continuously changing, and the IT area falls underneath you. So how does that kind of change where your department has to focus on, with areas like guest services having to answer a little more technical support questions?
Well, this is true. Technology change, and we are obviously try to keep up with it. We have amazing technology on board. I've already mentioned VOOM, which is the fastest internet at sea, which everyone fully enjoy, but we have as well Royal IQ. Royal IQ is also a program. It's an app that allow guests to make to plan their cruise in advance, so they can actually do it from home, or they can do when they come on board, without having to line up an example guest services or having to ask anyone. We have different stations located around the ship with iPads where our guests can simply go, tap their cards, and enter their names, their personal information, and make reservations for restaurants, for shows. We even have chat and call app, which allow our guests to get in touch with our family members around the ship, which is fantastic. Those are like things that we have learned thanks to the guests, thanks to what the guests have been asking us in the past. I remember those days where guests used to come on board and used to look for telephones, internal telephones to borrow, or walkie-talkies. Those days are, now, we're moving forward, and we have guests walking around with their own device. They just download an app, and they can stay in touch with the rest of their families for the rest of the cruise, which is incredible. And then we have the bionic bar. As like people can order their drinks, by, just typing their preferences on a tablet, and enjoy the show that our bionic bars robots have to offer. So it's amazing.
And then on November 5th, the Harmony makes it to the US and will be entering for the first time. Is there anything extra that your department has to kind of go through to make that arrival happen?
Once again, it's all about preparations. Yes, we'll arrive very early in the morning, and this is going to be the first time entering the United States, so we will have lots of immigration checks for guests and for crew. So as you can imagine, we have about 2,200 crew members that will have to go through a full immigration process, where we'll have to go as usual with the checks and fingerprints, as if you come from a different country into the United States. So yes, there is a lots of work behind all this, and that's where our human resources team, organizing all this in advance and working out. It's a lot of planning also with our guest support services support team, and it's all about teamwork. We make it happen. From a guest perspective, it's a preparation for a departure. So we're gonna have all lounges ready for the offering of a great departure experience to our guests, and communication, just making sure that the guests know where to meet and ensure that everyone get out of the ship on time to reach their flights, whatever arrangement they have after they depart the ship. But being the first time in the US is always a little bit more complex, and we have a little bit more work to do. But again, we are used to it. We've done it many times, and we are fully prepared and ready to offer a great experience for our guests until the last moment.
All right. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell the viewers?
Well, I would just like to say that if you haven't been on Harmony of the Seas yet, I strongly recommend to visit our ship. It's a fantastic experience. I'm sure you've seen it already everywhere, all over the news, and I really hope and look forward to see you around, either Harmony of the Seas or on one of our ships around the world.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Derek. It was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you.
So once again, thank you to Giuseppe for taking the time to talk to me. That about does it for today's episode. Once again, I'm Derek Cohn. Tomorrow will be, of course, another day at sea. But first, stay tuned for the links.